Still cold. It's still very cold in London town. I'd say just above freezing. Mala in Brownswood. This could be the final podcast in Brownswood.
Is that right?
Yeah, it could be, but I don't know. I think they might have pulled out. The buyers might have pulled out, which could be a good thing. You were going to be the final one, but I don't think so. It's a real pleasure to have you here and come all the way from South Norwood.
Yep.
And we were saying actually that is pure pirate territory, isn't it?
It's got its history for sure, yeah.
Still see people coming around these corners with aerials and transmitters and old bill searching. Yeah, I had some good times there. In fact, I remember one time we were on the radio, we had a station called K-Jazz, and I think it was LWR were really at their peak at that time. And I remember we got busted, and our studio was just down the hill from Crystal Palace. It was with a guy called Chris Phillips and Jez Nelson, a bunch of other people. And I remember we quickly ran up, but when we went off the air, we ran up from our studio really fast to try and catch, get the transmitter just to find out what was going on. And we weren't up to the top of the building, or I didn't actually. I'm trying to take the credit for being there. I was a coward staying in the studio, and we were being busted by another pirate.
Oh, you're joking?
Yeah, that's what it got to that point when pirates were busting pirates, and that's when we pulled out.
Yeah.
Like, we're not ghetto enough for that. So how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, good. Rested over the new year, and 2010 to me, I look at the date and I say it, and I swear I should be like on my hoverboard in that right now. It really feels like and sounds like the future. Yeah. But I feel good this year. Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? Because even when it got to 2000. And that was only yesterday.
Really, this decade's flown past, really. Yes.
Madness. It's such a good pleasure to have in your company. We're going to play a few tunes, right? And get into the Mala vibe and just get ourselves into this. And the first track you just played, straight off an acetate. I've got to repeat that. An acetate has been played on this turntable for a few years now.
Is that right?
I don't even think I haven't cut anything for a long time. I've been lazy, but anyway, proper acetate, old school, £30, £40. How much is it costing these days for us?
Yeah, it's in them territories there, a dub. Yeah, you're looking at the
smells good. Yeah, I always like that smell.
I remember the first time when I went and cut dub, and I used to, before I was actually playing, when Hatcher was just playing my tunes, I would go and cut some of my tunes for Hatcher, and that's when I really got kind of like addicted to cutting dubs, just the whole process of it. And yeah, the smell is something that never leaves you as well when you've got a fresh acetate in your hand. So yeah, I'm still addicted to going down to transition and cutting my dubs.
Yeah, the only thing about it, of course, is when you get on an aeroplane, right, and your box weighs a little bit over. What's the limit?
The limit's 20, yeah, on most planes. I actually carry always hand luggage, like in that rucksack there, because often or not they just think it's a rucksack full of, you know, a laptop and maybe a couple of snacks for the plane. But yeah, it generally weighs 24, 25. Yeah. And I've carried that around the world.
Yeah, because now that guy got done in Detroit the other day, they're saying no hand luggage.
Is that right? What, going into the States, or?
I don't know, I hope it doesn't go beyond. It's only one piece as well, maybe no piece, but I know it was 2 pieces if you were lucky, but depends what country you're in. Mala, nice. So you've tested it out over the last 3 years, right? This track?
Yeah, this track, Living Different.
Right, and it's finally going to be coming out.
It is very soon, yeah.
Good. It's strong. Tell me a little bit about the beginnings of you actually before you came in and did the debut the Medi record label, Deep Medi. Where did you come in on the musical front? Because you were a footballer
originally,
and it all went a bit knees up.
It went a bit knees up. Yeah, unfortunately, I played football at Millwall for 6-7 years, but got into music maybe kind of like 91, 92 really, just all the old hardcore and jungle stuff.
Living in South London.
Yeah, that's, used to hear everything firsthand on the Pirates, but just that slightly too young where you weren't really old enough to go to the raves yet. And I started experimenting with music, I would say, kind of when I started college in about 97, 98. And back then I was just trying to recreate what I loved in jungle. And that just carried on developing. And then it got to about 2002. And both me and Koki decided to take making music a little bit more seriously, in the sense that we just thought we'd invest in getting like a little desk, some decent studio monitors, because we were making music all the time, just on the, kind of like the Sony Hi-Fi or whatever. And through that, and through giving, the record shops that used to go on used to be in Croydon. You had like Wax City Records we used to go to, and you had Big Apple as well. And we used to go down Big Apple a lot, and Hatcher used to work there. So we just gave Hatcher some of our tunes, because I knew him from back in the garage days. And he just started playing a couple of our tunes, like, to our surprise. And then because of the reaction they got, it just kind of made us give him more tunes, because it's not like we just had 1 or 2 tunes. Literally overnight, from nothing being heard of Digital Mystics, half of Hatcher's set was Digital Mystics, Scream, Benga and Artwork and Horsepower. So at that time as well, we weren't really interested in kind of trying to force or push our music on anybody. We certainly didn't want a record deal with kind of any majors or anything. And that's really, with our friend Lofa, we just decided to start the DMZ label, really, just to put out our music ourselves. When I was that age, and I guess even so now, I was always worried about being misrepresented when other people get involved in pushing something which you're about. If they don't fully understand where you're coming from, then they're going to misrepresent you. And I felt a few years back, with an experience that I had, I was misrepresented by a label, and this kind of gave me the fire just to do my own thing, really. And as you do, you press your first 500 whites or whatever, and over a period of time we sold them, and everything just like kind of followed on the domino effect from there, really. And it's kind of funny, because I remember going into like places like Soul Jazz and that with our early releases, and when anything's, I guess, in its infancy, it takes a while for people's heads to kind of get round the grooves and the vibe. So it took a long while of sticking at what we were doing, and just playing in small dark rooms on big sound systems. And for us, that was everything. We didn't really need anything else. But the fact that it's developed into what it has today, and you're able to travel and meet people and share what it is you do on a personal level in little South Norwood with people in Japan, in New Zealand or Iceland or Russia, wherever, it's been a blessing, and it's been an amazing experience. So
let's play some more tunes. This is another one on another dub plate. This is called Education.
and I, son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Our heart shall correspond and beat it in one harmony. Sounds from the burning spear. Shall not enter. These are all alone. We walk on a true man's garden, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation. Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
sea. Oh no, till 140 and 4,000 be free. This earth, not the earth, nor the sea. Oh no, you can't destroy God's monarchy. God and history shall record your judgment. Dread and them scientists, he has prepared his throne for judgment. I know they just can't resist. God and history shall record your judgment. Judgment is at hand. And because them causing so much pollution, the air is filled with pollution. Nothing they can do about it. Their minds are filled with confusion. And every day them keep on living. They keep heading for total destruction. That's the way they planned it. They keep heading for total destruction. Heading for total destruction. They keep 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 heading for
enjoying it. It's all good. It's great to hear a little bit of Augustus Pablo.
Always.
Yeah. East of the River Nile. I don't know if that is East of the River Nile, wasn't it? That was the track. But it's just a wonderful album all round. So yeah, where were we? Basically, we were talking about the beginnings and where you came into. But I was kind of keen because the first time I heard you playing out was at Mass, at the bi-monthly night that you do there, which is called DMZ, right? So tell me a little bit about how that's going, how that started, and is it the church? I mean, it's called Mass.
Listen, it started off at Third Base,
yeah,
which was the little building round the corner, which was still part of St Matthew's Church.
Yeah,
but the capacity was maybe 400 people. Back when we started doing this, when everyone was still, when it was only really a small handful of people playing this sound. We really, like myself, Koki Loafer, we kind of got addicted to hearing our music getting played on loud sound systems. And I guess the only night that was doing that was Forward back then at Plastic People.
Was Forward before?
Forward was before, yeah. And that's where our stuff first got played. And, you know, to hear your music get played first off in a place like Plastic People, you know, you kind of get spoilt for sound, really.
You've got to remember that, because, I mean, you know, that in a way that takes, you know, apart from anything else, that whole scene, it became a place where everyone could be motivated by the sound. So it was a really big catalyst place.
Definitely.
For the movement.
You know, it was really important for learning your production, because you'd be really exposed in a place like that to what your production was saying. You know?
It was actually, I remember it was Ade from Plastic People who told me, who actually played me, because I used to do Saturday nights with him every now and again, and he'd play out of the blue in between his sort of obscure African tracks and sort of modal chorus tracks, choir tracks, he'd play a scream track, you know, and it was like, he really was the first person who I heard play that sound in the context of what I was doing. Okay. If you know what I mean. Okay, you know, so whereas you have your first moment of experience where you hear drum and bass played in that context, that was, he was definitely the one who was, and of course, because he was hearing it every week in his club. Every week, yeah. So, you know, it was an important time, and we just got addicted to that, and an opportunity come up for us to put on our own event, and we were all South Londoners, so when we found out the Brixton place was available 15 minutes from us, it made perfect sense, and it was a Saturday night, and back then there was no Saturday night thing going on, and I think that's when Forward was still on a Thursday. And it was really, we went down, checked out the venue, loved the spot, felt right, paid the deposit there and then. We went back again with Koki on Friday, because we originally went on the Wednesday, so we went back on the Friday, definitely went ahead with it. It was in a month's time, the rave. We went back to Loafers that night, made up the flyer on the internet, and then we finished the flyer, and it was like, they need something else on the flyer. What do we need on the flyer? Because we didn't want to put like dubstep, or we didn't want to describe what the music was. We really wanted just the names of the people playing, and for people to come down and discover. Because for me, that's what I think maybe a few years ago what this sound was doing. It was allowing people to explore and discover a new sound for themselves, rather it being pushed upon people. We just I come up with the slogan meditate on bass weight, because that's kind of like what we done when I was writing tunes. It would be like a meditation, and obviously it was bass heavy, and then it just all come together from that. You know, 250 people turned up at the first dance, and then the one afterwards they brought their friends, and you know, within a year we had over 1,000 people at our first birthday bash, where we had to actually close that small room down at midnight and tell everyone there's still 500 people outside, do you mind if we go upstairs and use the big room? And we never went back to the smaller room since, and unfortunately something's left in that small little room, which I think all of us still feel we wish we could experience and go back and visit from time to time. But you know, these things happen. I mean, you know, things move forwards, and it's funny because I think we start off these scenes, this organic thing, which is obviously what was happening here. There comes a point where you lose a bit of control on the night. For sure. Have you lost that a little bit? I mean, can you completely play as naturally as you would have been able to play 4 or 5 years ago today? I think you can, but I think it takes certain discipline to do that. I think a lot of the time, unfortunately, like as humans, we are affected by what other people think of us and what other people write and say. So I think DMZ is still a spot where people can come down and play what they like.
I think actually playing in a smaller club makes one feel more confident rather than playing to, 1,000 or more people. I still try and do it. I've got to, that's what keeps me going.
are playing a lot of. Was this a new one on Medi?
It will maybe at some point this year. Yeah, this is a exclusive dub by Quest. It's called Smooth Skin.
What would be your label roster right now? Who's on it? Who's consistent?
On Deep Medi?
Yeah.
You got Quest.
Yeah.
You got Silky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Forgot about that.
You got all the way from Japan. You got Goth Trad.
Oh yeah.
We've got Caliber.
Caliber, who was drum and bass.
He still is.
That's your computer.
That's that. He still is.
Yeah. He made a great album last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard the new one, the Dominic Martin one?
No.
Have you heard his new one?
No.
He's got a new album out just called Dominic Martin.
Oh no.
And it's all it's like non drum and bass stuff.
Okay.
But it's really interesting. You should check that out. I've signed a new guy called Vivek. Miss Beats.
Yeah, Miss Beats, love that.
You got Hijack.
Yeah.
A guy called Tonnage.
You're selling records?
Yeah.
Is it breaking even, turning over?
Still managing to carry on.
Businessable? Vinyl? CD?
Vinyl.
More than CDs?
We don't sell no CDs.
I've got a CD.
Silky's album is the first CD.
Right. And the other stuff
there's a new compilation coming out, which is the first 5 releases on Medi, which was...
You've kept it vinyl all that time.
By the way, still no digital as well.
You played a Steve... I like that. I like the idea of that. I can't get my head around buying that. No, you played a Steve Reich track, and the funny thing was, the Steve Reich track you played was on an acetate. So you cut old tracks onto slate. That's next level.
I've done it with quite a few tracks actually, stuff that I can't get hold of on record because I do search for stuff on vinyl, and if I can't get hold of it, then if I can find it on CD, I'll cut it to dub.
You'll cut it to dub.
Yeah.
So, okay, why? Will it give you that extra 20%?
Not necessarily, but I like it.
Right.
And I like playing my dubs.
I love it.
I don't want to start off with a CD.
Yeah, okay. And you tell me a good story, because the first time you play, because you tend to start off with some interesting, you don't want to go into obvious when you play your set.
Yeah, I always start off with a non-140 track, so to speak.
And you played at the end?
My first ever gig was in 2004, and it was a Reflex Records party because we signed some stuff to Aphex Twins label back then. It was like a part of a compilation with Code 9, and we got asked to play at the end. As I said to you earlier, I was kind of cacking it because I'm totally deaf in my left ear, so I was a little bit apprehensive about how it would work out for me playing on such a big sound system. And to kind of calm my nerves, I thought I'd play a track that kind of puts me in the right frame of mind. And that was back then was Augustus Pablo would always put me on like a good meditation. So I used to start my sets always with an Augustus Pablo track, and then over the years I just got more and more experimental with my first tunes. I just any track that I think people should hear, there's a chance that I'm going to play it.
Saying that you're left in your left ear, how do you monitor? How do you listen and DJ at the same time? So how do you do it with one ear? And that sounds a bit weird. Is there a way of doing it? Have you got a special technique of?
I don't know. It might be special technique.
Yeah. No, because I know Bookham's got ways, or some people don't actually necessarily use headphones. Or
I definitely use headphones, but for me, everything just goes in one ear.
Yeah.
So like if I was to use them headphones that you've got on your head now, like the closed headphone wouldn't be good for me. I need like something that's kind of open and not too tight in my ear, so just all the sound comes in, and I had the headphone kind of slightly off my ear.
Yeah.
So
and is monitoring really important for you as well? So you got some good bass bins underneath the decks.
Yeah, definitely. The monitor's definitely got to be on the right. I've been to a few places before when they've got the monitor just on the left, and because of the short delay that it takes to get round to this side can be quite problematic.
Yeah.
But it's from birth I've been deaf in my left ear, so it's just something that I've dealt with all my life. It doesn't feel like it's a disability in any way at all. But it's funny because as I'm getting older and I'm playing out more and more and my ears are taking more and more of a beating, I actually do feel that I need to be so much more careful with it now.
good to hear that one again. Theo Parrish with Mala as chosen by on this podcast. Theo Parrish, you go and see him when you can, right?
Yeah, I often take off that date when he's in England to go and hear him play.
Yeah.
Always, you never know what you're going to get with Theo Parrish, but I'm always, always stunned and always inspired.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I put you in the same category. I think it's great that that there is that connection. It'd be good to see you do music together.
You know what? I was telling you about when I play at Deep Space with Francois K, and not the last time I played, but the time before that, they said, we might not be able to get you to play because we've already got someone playing at night, but if you don't mind playing the first hour and a half, you can come and play. I said, I'd play anytime, and it was to play with Theo Parrish, and I can't remember what he mixed out of one of my tunes into his tunes, but it was just the most random thing. It should never have worked, but it was Theo Parrish, so of course it's gonna work, and I got to speak to him that night, and just a lovely guy, just so kind of like passionate about what he does, and if I could get anybody to remix one of my tracks, straight off, my first answer would be Theo Parrish. I'd love to do some more of it.
Yeah, I think you guys are made musically for each other. I think there's a real similarity in the ethos, and there's not enough of that around. I find that's why it's so refreshing to see what you've been up to with the label. It's totally from the heart. There doesn't feel like there's any. You're keeping the commercial pressures at bay, and you will continue to do so.
You can only do what you know.
Yeah. Give me a tip for Deep Space, because I've got to play there in 3 weeks. I'm cacking it a little bit.
I can't give you a tip, Giles.
But it's Francois. I don't know what he's like. He's so serious. You can't just turn up there and do your autopilot. You've got to go in deep, right? I mean, it's not really. Is it? What was it like for you when you played there?
I've been lucky. I've played there 4 times now, and every time I go there, I do feel like nervous because of the environment that you walk into. But you know what it's like when you feel that. I find sometimes when you play in a way that you don't normally play. So I often play very different for how I would play if I was playing in London. So you know how to play.
Yeah, I'm just just go in as low down on the BPMs as possible and build it up slowly. Okay. Nothing worse than starting too fast.
Have you been in that place before in the club?
Yeah, I mean, Cielo, yeah? I've done it a few times on my own, and that's fine. Okay. But I'm in his territory.
Okay.
It's the Monday.
Is he going to be playing as well that night?
Yeah, we're back to back, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's always brilliant.
You've got the effects units out and everything. It's nice because I'll be playing and he would get on like the delay and the reverb. I love playing at Deep Space, really.
What's going on over the next few months for you, apart from so you're going to put out some more music, taking the Medi thing a bit further? Yeah,
definitely. With Deep Medi, with the artists on the label, everybody's really looking to experiment this year, not just with 140 tempos but with all different tempos, so I'm really excited about the artists on the label. I only released 1 record last year myself, so I've got so much music that I'd like to put out and I didn't have a chance to last year, so this year for me hopefully it's going to be about releasing more music.
Live, beyond the DJ?
Never say never. I'd love to be able to develop something like that in the future. I've got a really busy year ahead of me, a lot of change, so we'll see what goes on and how much time I have free,
Yeah, well, keep sending me stuff.
For sure.
Getting me stuff. I can't believe you brought so many acetates in here. It smells good in the studio now. It smells good. I want to finish off with Miss Beats track. Tell me a little bit about her, because this is a big tune right now for me.
Miss Beats, she's just a 23-year-old Londoner who's just making some seriously good music. What I love about a lot of the, because they're all part of Antisocial, which is part of Quest and Silky and J5 and Henny G. Something in their sound, it all kind of connects, and I find their stuff is, they're very musical. They've got great sense of arrangement in that as well, and they're different kind of like chord progressions and stuff. So Miss Beats, I think she's definitely one to check for this year, because she's writing a lot of good music.
Just before you go as well, I mean, things have gone very large for this movement of music, however you want to describe it. It's going all kinds of different directions. On one hand, you've got the Brengas and the Screams, who are superstars.
Mashing it up worldwide every weekend, almost every day probably, you know, somewhere or another. Unbelievable.
Then you got your Hemlock type of, and your Mount Kimby, and your Ramadan Man, and your Pangaeas and Untold, that area, Joy Orbison area, which is interesting again.
Of course.
I mean, when I went to Bestival last summer, I was just amazed as to how it had crossed over to regular festival goers. Like drum and bass would have been 10 years ago.
Well, you know, that's, I think it's, you know, the people that are going away every weekend and playing shows, they're partly, you know, I think they're not partly, but kind of maybe hugely responsible for it, because, and you know, same with people playing stuff on radio, because people's minds are getting, you know, are understanding the grooves, you know, and you're not just hearing it on pirate radio stations anymore. You might hear certain tunes on daytime and Radio 1, for example, you know. So, you know, never in a million years do you ever think that what you're involved in is ever going to develop in the way it has, but, you know, I just try and keep strong in what I believe and what I do, and I'm just trying to keep moving forward, you know.
Yeah, and spend as much time in Japan as possible.
Oh, I love Japan.
Yeah.
We'll be here for another hour talking about
but they
it.
were quick on you as well, I mean.
Yeah, I first went out there in 2007. You always do a tour, you go to, you know, Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, and you always get some time off, maybe to like visit Kyoto or go to like Hakone and go to onsen, hot springs and stuff, you know. But I just love Japanese people. They're just, you know, so respectful, so humble. Japanese food, what can you say, you know. And their attention to all this, the sound systems in all the clubs are just great, you know, really. And the engineer sits there all night actually engineering the night, rather than, you know, a lot of places you go, you know, certain mans are having a party while they should be working, you know. And I don't want to be a party people, but if you've got something to do, you've got to get on it, you know.
Thanks a lot. We got to do a gig in Japan together.
All right, let's make that happen.